Hello, Chris.
What up, man? It's been so long. It's been about
It's,
3 minutes.
well, it's actually, I was going to say it's been too long since we've seen each other. It
It's
was before the world lost its mind.
that is true. It's been a long, long time, but I'm gonna go ahead and introduce you. Your name is Clay Howerton,
Yes,
and
sir.
we met a long time ago through the internet, and it wasn't Tinder or Grinder. We got into a political argument. We got into a political argument on Facebook, and it ended with us deciding that we would have lunch together. And we went and had lunch, had a conversation, saw things from each other's point of view. At that point in time, and probably still, he's on the right, I'm on the left. And at that point in time, I was getting really sick of my people, the left, just yelling at people on the internet. And I thought, you know what? Let's have dinner and then our lunch. And we went to a seafood restaurant, and I won the debate that day because you tried to pick up the tab, and I said, "Oh no, sir. There's nothing more I'd rather have than you take a Democrat handout right now."
He did. He picked up the tab, and I was there with my hand out saying,
Yeah,
"Feed me."
that's right. That's right. But the first thing I'd like to do, because you really impressed me, every time I do the podcast, I have to call the person, get the levels right for recording and all that. But he hit me with some serious broadcaster shit. So what were those called again that you said?
Well, actually, this can be the name of this episode of the podcast, Chris, if you want.
Absolutely. I love it.
Pangrams.
Pan
Pangrams. Pangrams. They're
Pangrams.
short sentences that contain every letter of the alphabet.
Let's hit them. Let's hit a few.
Well, here's one of my favorites because there are no repeat letters in this. It's only 26 letters long, and this could be a headline. Mr. Jock, TV quiz PhD, bags few links. That's awesome right there. Or you might like, this is for Chris. He's got a couple of beers.
I know which one you're going to go with. You're going to go with.
He's got a couple of beers with him right now.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with my water. Pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs.
Ooh, that one. I
Now-
don't. Is that it?
No, you remember in grade school, they actually taught us one of these. I remember the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that one. But you know what this reminds me of? My
that?
favorite comedy movie of all time is Anchorman. And at one point, Will Ferrell is at the desk, and he says he's doing what you're doing, panagrams, right? Panagrams? And
Pangrams.
Pangrams. I'm thinking Instagram. Pangram. But he does that shit, but he just says like the most. He's like, I don't even remember what he says. I maybe could if I wasn't on the spot, but he's just like, he just makes shit up because it's Will Ferrell and he's hilarious. But that's what it reminded me of when you did it, and I've never had anybody do that whenever I've asked him to do the sound check. So it was kind of cool to get that. And that is the reason I think Will Ferrell was doing that in the movie is because I think that's what broadcasters actually do in order to get a sound level, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yes, they just have to randomly speak, and I knew you were going to do that. You had told me, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to call you and get a sound check. So I'm like, well, I'm going to have something to say.
It was
and it's
good,
going to be
dude.
something meaningless and stupid.
You're
The last one.
coming in hot like a pro with the entertainment. I
Yes,
like
sir.
it. Some of these fucking idiots
Well-
I have on this podcast, they come in and it's like, do you realize that we're getting recorded, you know? But anyway, go ahead, man.
The last one, and this is for you because you're a musician and because you love the Stones. Queen Elizabeth's proxy waved off Mick Jagger.
There we go. There we go.
There we go.
Well, man, yeah. So I talked about how you and I kind of got to know one another, and really, I think, to be honest with you, that may be the only time we've ever hung out was when we had that lunch. I mean, we've been friends on the internet or whatever, but in real life, I think that's the only time we may have seen one another time. I think, and just been like, "Hey, what's up, man?" You know, but we really don't know each other. We don't agree politically in any way. That's not true. We probably do agree. I'll tell you this. I will say this. I'm going to go ahead and before we start talking about politics, I'm going to give you a little nugget, and I'm going to let you know that if the Republicans run anybody with common sense in 2024, I'll vote Republican for the first time in my life. Like, I'm fed up with the Democrats. But I will say this. Here's where you may run into trouble, Clay, is if the Democrats run anybody with sense, then I'll vote for that person. So I'm finally like, to me, the wall of the illusion, the veil's been pulled back, which probably just gave you an erection because that's like, Donald Trump was saying that he was going to fucking drain the swamp and all that shit. And in a weird way, I think he kind of did. It's going to take a while to like, and I hated Trump. I don't like Trump. I want to go on record there. But in a way, he kind of almost showed the public just how things work. It was almost like he was I don't know what the word for it would be, but just the way he operated was like so calloused and everything that you kind of start to see, in my mind anyway, when Trump was president, the thing that I found so disgusting about the left is that the left, who I thought was always supposed to be the intelligent party, in my opinion, was starting to act like the fucking Tea Party acted whenever Obama was president. And so I see that kind of axis like just get flipped on its ass. And I think to myself, well, fuck, everything's the same. It's not, there really aren't parties. There's just arguments. But I don't know. Like, what do you think about, let's just get right into it. What do you think about this reversing Roe versus Wade shit? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I will share some. I actually have a podcast of my own, and I put up an episode today that I wasn't planning on.
Well, thanks for the fucking invite, bro.
Well, I will invite you. It may not be your cup of tea.
Oh, I don't care. I'll come in and fucking get all QAnon with you weirdos. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm fucking with you. No, I'll come and do it for real. If you'll have me on, I'll do it. Absolutely.
All right, but it's also radio broadcast, so we'll have to play it PG.
Oh, that's totally fine too. I have the ability to not cuss, but whenever I'm on here, I just I have a couple beers and I just loosen my belt and just get wild.
Yes, sir. Well, so last night, somebody in the Supreme Court, some clerk or somebody,
oh yeah, I saw this.
Leaked the draft by Justice Alito, that says 5-4, it's going to be overturn Roe. And so this morning, the barriers were already put up in front of the Supreme Court building because the protesters, the mostly peaceful protesters, I want to point out, were already there with their produced signs talking about how, this is the end of humanity. And to me, the irony, one of them, is that
abortion is the end of humanity.
No, sir.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
The irony is that they're not thinking this through at all, which is that if it happens that the Supreme Court says no more Roe, all that will happen legally is that the states will make their own rules.
That is a good point.
And they're already doing that. They're already doing that.
That is a good point.
California, Chris, has a bill called AB 2223, and you're going to think I'm making this up, but it's there and I've seen it. It will allow terminating the life of the child up to 28 days after it leaves the womb without legal recourse.
Look, I'm going to just tell you right now, I don't believe that, but it is California, so I don't know. But I will say this, I hope that the only babies that they kill 28 days after they're born are the non-binary ones. Look what I did there. See? Now. Well, like I'm assuming, like, I think it's funny in politics. Obviously, I'm joking. I don't want babies to get killed. But, like, I think it's funny that in politics, not necessarily with you, Clay, but with, like, say if I was talking to somebody else that leans your way, right, and is on the right side of the aisle. If I'm talking to somebody else, I could hear that sentence come out of their mouth where they say this bill that I don't even know if it's real, but I'm going to trust you. And you know what? If you're listening to this and you don't trust Clay, then Google it, dumbass. But so, like, at the end of the day, I could have that very conversation with someone who agrees with you and, like, how insane that is, which, of course, that's insane. You can kill a baby 28 days after it's born. But I could also probably, if I wanted to play my cards right, work that person into some kind of a frenzy where they would say that they wish Nancy Pelosi would die. And it's like, would you have, that's what I'd like to ask Republicans. There's always this thing like, would you go back in time? And if you could, of course, the first thing you got to do is kill baby Hitler, right? That's the thing. So it's like, if you go back in time as a Republican, do you go back and kill Nancy Pelosi?
No, sir.
You let her live.
I do not.
You let her live.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. I am not.
I'm
not about
fan of the free market.
I am a fan of life. Well, so for those who would be skeptical, a source for you is openstates.org. They have all the bills out there, and the California bill is AB 2223 on reproductive health. It's from the 2021-2022 regular session, and you can abstract right there on openstates.org.
All right, man. All right. I mean, I'm not doubting. I just haven't heard of it. So, you hit me with it. And let's be honest, in this day and age, I'm not saying you're this person, but my dad used to always tell me to believe,
trust but verify.
No, kind of, but he would say believe none of what you hear and half of what you see.
Yes, sir. And as a amateur zero-budget filmmaker, I will tell you, believe nothing of what you see, because they can make you believe that Forrest Gump shook hands with President Kennedy.
This is true. Yeah, and we're going to have deep fakes now. Now you have deep fakes with all this shit. So, well, that's fucking insane. Yeah, I mean, look, dude, the left, to me anyway, has gone completely fucking bananas, and I talk about it all the time on here, which is my big problem is that I don't like anybody. Like, I don't like anybody on the far reaches of things. But one thing I will say that I respect is consistency, and it seems like you're consistent. I don't necessarily agree with you on everything, but it seems like you have a moral compass that's guiding your belief system, which I think is rare in this day and age. And it's kind of nice to hear that, because believe it or not, a lot of people look at me and think I'm a piece of shit, but my moral compass guides everything I do. Now, whether or not I make the right decision based off my moral compass, that's up for debate, and hindsight's 2020. But how did you get to, like, tell people about your life? Like, do you mind like just kind of giving like a backstory of who you are, and then we can yell at each other about politics more?
Sure. I grew up. I was born a poor. No, I'm not going to go there. That was Steve Martin from a movie that couldn't be made these days. The Jerk.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was, pardon me, born here in Paducah, Kentucky. Grew up here, and then went off to the Air Force for
You're a military
long time.
Man. That's what I thought. Yeah, you're a military man.
Yes, sir. So left here at age 17, came back 27 years later, and
damn,
now I work for a. Go ahead.
Well, hold up. So you left at 17 and came back at 27?
No, 27 years later.
27. Yeah, 27. Jesus Christ, it's even bigger skip than I thought. Like, well, what the fuck happened between those parts? Like, can you give
Air Force career?
Okay.
So
yeah.
I was an aeronautical engineer and a flight
You're
test
definitely,
engineer.
by the way, I want to say this right now. As much as I hate your politics, you're hands down the smartest person I've had on the podcast, and it's awesome. So go ahead.
Well, thank you. You're very charitable to me, friend.
I'm not. I'm just telling you the truth, man.
I studied at the Air Force Academy, and then went off and had a career in the Air Force doing high-tech geeky stuff, and then program management, and then you have to broaden your horizons. So I did personnel management and some of this other stuff. And anyway, throughout all that, though, always had a lot of structure to my life, whether I wanted it or not. There it was. And so, we adapt to things. And I adapted to that. I got used to that. I could figure, okay, there's a purpose to it. I'm not just going to resent it. I'm going to work within the structure. And the main thing, though, that drives me, I hope, is my faith that God loves me and you and everyone, and that he loves me enough that he would sacrifice his own son to bring me into his presence. That's my driving belief that shapes my life. So that's me. And then I came back here after a few years post-retirement from the Air Force. I had an opportunity to come back and work on a family charitable foundation, and that was an easy call. Here we are, and that's what I'm doing.
Well, thanks. Thanks for sharing that. I do think it's, and I'm just talking, you know what I'm saying? But I do find it interesting that the right plays on the God. Like, like basically if someone's a Christian, you know what I mean? Not everyone, but if someone is like a Christian, you can go, they're probably Republican. If they served in the military, you can go, they're probably Republican. If they own guns, you can probably, you know what I mean? It's just so funny to me how, as a country, it's gotten to that point where, like, you can look at me and go, well, he's a musician, he's probably a Democrat. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Does that make sense? Just how these...
It does. You're saying stereotypes aren't just stereotypes. They have something behind them.
Well, I think but I think that stereotypes were stereotypes at one point in time, and then they got commodified by the politicians. And I think that and this is something that we may agree with each other, but I think like politics does commodify personality types, demographics, all that shit. Like, and to me, I think a lot of the problems that we have when you combine politics with social media, where everybody's got their fucking voice in their pocket all day, and then you throw, I don't know, like Donald Trump into that dumpster fire, I feel like that era that you and I met each other was a fucking period of time that will be looked at in the future as a dumpster fire, where we had, like, you know, social media is the new cigarettes, man. So like in 100 years, people are going to be like, can you believe that they used to do that? Like, how stupid were they? Like, oh, my grandpa was so dumb, you know, or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like that kind of thing. And it's just, to me, it's crazy how I feel like politicians nowadays, since opinions have been commodified with social media, and that's really, you know, that's how Obama won. That's how Trump won. I mean, they both used social media. And it's just kind of an interesting thing at this point in time to see social media become where everyone literally does have a voice, and then see opinions get commodified.
That's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying there, Chris. And actually, a topic that I had thought we might discuss, because I bet we agree a lot more than we disagree,
Jews?
Is my love of... I know that's what you told me we were going to talk about.
Yeah, he asked me. He asked me on Facebook. I asked if anybody would want to, and we can talk about Jews actually, because I bet you know a shit ton of stuff about the Holocaust because you're a Republican. But like, he asked me what would we talk about, and my answer was Jews, and then he didn't respond, understandably, and I had to fucking write him like 2 days later and be like, hey man, I was joking about talking about Jews. Like, I'd like you to be on if you want to do it. But here's
a story for you. I actually managed the flight test of the F-15I model that we sold to Israel, and I went over there to Israel for part of that flight test program. So I'm a big fan of Israel.
I knew. Well, you're a Republican. Of course you're a big fan of Israel.
That's right.
See, and the tropes are just, I'm going to keep hitting you with them. But you really went to Israel?
Yes, I did. I really did. I managed the flight test program for what was the best jet in the world at the time, the F-15I. And boy, they put it to use as soon as we cut them loose with that thing, because they're always under threat from all sides.
Were they fucking with the Palestinians?
Well, not explicitly, but some of their neighboring countries are always lobbing stuff in their directions, you know.
Yeah.
Well, this plane allowed them to have some sort of air supremacy where they'd be like, you know what, maybe you guys don't want to keep lobbing stuff.
Yeah, and now they have that crazy fucking thing where, like, if anything comes over a certain barrier, They call it something.
Yeah.
You probably know what it is, but it just shoots.
Well,
out
they
of
had the
fucking
Iron
air.
Dome,
That's
but now it's
yeah.
like the laser dome. I worked with high energy lasers as well, and that's interesting. But
Jesus Christ, I'm intimidated.
The topic that we agree on that I thought we might discuss ties in also to your talk about social media. Free speech. I love it, and I know you do too, Chris Black. You love free speech.
I do. I think it's a good thing.
So we see that together. And so we could talk about how people are losing their minds
over
when
Twitter.
A so-called free speech absolutist named Elon Musk says, I got $44 billion to spare. I think I'm going to buy this Twitter
I think
thing.
that shit was so badass that I just got a shiver, like, because I thought him doing that was the most gangster fucking move he could make, and I love it, and I'm glad he did it, and I think it's one of the best things that's happened. That guy, Elon Musk, is the shit.
So he says, I want electric cars. So what does he do? He makes electric cars. He says, I want space exploration. What does he do? He makes space exploring vehicles. Yeah. And I'm like, dude. And he's like, I want free speech. So what do? I'm going to buy the speech platform, Twitter, and make it free. Now, I talked with somebody recently, Molly Hemingway, on my own podcast, and she said that the legal system's going to try to throw a bunch of roadblocks, and Elon may not have much influence on Twitter for a while.
I read an article where they were going to try to bring him in front of a House committee to see what he wants to do with Twitter, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's why I'm about to go Republican. Like,
this is the thing, though, Chris. Observe the reaction to people on any side to the idea that we should have free speech on a platform like Twitter.
It's insane.
And you see us conservatives saying yay.
Oh, I thought you were trying to lump me in when you said us. I was like, whoa, bud.
I mean,
pump the fucking brakes.
Me.
Yeah.
I mean me. And there's more than me, so that's us.
I know, I'm fucking
over here on that side. Well, we're like, yay, we love free speech. And then Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and these guys are like, we got to stop this guy. And
yeah,
I'm like,
really? I agree. I totally agree. Like, when I saw that they were going to drag him in front of the House committee or whatever that shit was, I mean, I think I've read the article briefly while I was pooping. I mean, that's how everybody gets their news nowadays. So it's like, which is good because the news is shit. So it's nice to just get two shits in at once. But like,
we agree on that too. I turned off the news on a specific date. You want to guess what it was?
9/11.
No, 4 November 2020.
4 November of 2020. Was that when, let me see.
That was the day after the election of 2020. Because I watched that night, and I'm like, they're gaslighting us for real.
See,
and
you and I aren't going to agree on all this chaos. Like, I don't, but go for it. Fuck it. Freedom of speech.
Well, anyway, so Elon Musk, what he's doing is really clever. Even if all the antitrust and whatever legal hurdles they throw at him prevents him from really making it his own thing, he's already got 90.1 million followers. Mm-hmm. And so now, if he says something, he's like, I'm going to promote this topic. Yeah. Well, time was Jack Dorsey would just say, I don't want that topic.
But now
Mike Lindell,
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that.
They can't ban him because he owns it.
Holy shit. What a fucking baller ass move. I mean, let's be honest.
It was.
I mean, it really, I love that fucking dude. And I'm very glad he bought it. I also think I heard another podcaster, comedian or whatever, like a comedian, the Honest Pappas, I think it was, whose podcast I really love. He has a podcast called Yanni Long Days, and I think it's fucking brilliant. But big inspiration for me, I would say, honestly, if I'm being real. Mm-hmm. But like, he said something about how he thought, and I think it was him, but he said that he thought it was funny that the left is all about the environment, and like that's such a big thing for them, but Elon's making electric cars, which are good for the environment, which everybody should love him and did love him at one point in time. And then he buys Twitter and says free speech, and the left goes fucking nuts. And that's the kind of shit that's making me, I'll vote for fucking DeSantis. I'm just joking. I won't probably, but like, that's the thing that's driving me your way, man.
Dude, you should like DeSantis because he also gives zero. I'm telling you, Elon and DeSantis do not agree, like you and I do not agree on like their political point of view.
Yeah.
But they both are like, come at me, bro. If you're going to try to shut me up, bring it.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem with. There was a period in time with social media and things like that, or really now it still happens. I mean, you can. Another thing, if we're going to talk about the social media shit, which is how we met, so I guess it makes sense, and we're both argumentative pricks, or were at that point in time. Like, you know, I think it's you know what I think may have been the down. You know what might, you're a Christian. You know what might be the curse, or what is it, the sign of the beast?
Yes, sir.
The ability to not see someone that you're friends with on social media. Like if you don't, and really social media probably is the curse of the beast if we want to get all Christian and shit on it. But like, that's an argument for another time. But really, I think I noticed a big shift in human beings and the way that they act when you could just hide someone on social media. So you could literally like, I mean, fuck, I could have hid you a long time ago, man. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't agree with your shit. I could have just said, I don't want to see that. And so you've got this like world we live in now where you have the opportunity, where everyone has a voice, you know, freedom of speech in air quotes. But like, then you have the opportunity to, when you don't like what someone's, and yeah, I guess you've got that in real life, but if you're going to be, in air quotes, friends with somebody, shouldn't you listen to what they say?
Yes.
You know?
And
like,
that's why you and I can talk well and disagree, but still be like, this is fun.
Hey, buddy. Hey, Mr. Smarty Pants. We ain't talking well. We're talking good.
That's right. We're doing some good talking. So we can disagree and still enjoy, because we're both advancing our own understanding.
Absolutely.
We're not advancing, I changed this guy. We're advancing, I understand things I didn't understand.
Well, no, I just like perspective and nuance. And like, I'll be honest with you, man. My dad, hardcore Republican guy, loves guns, all that shit. I didn't really pay attention to politics until, honestly, 9/11. I was like 19 when that happened, 18, I don't remember. I was 20. And, you know, that shook me to the core. And then I started paying attention to politics. I started watching Jon Stewart. I still love Jon Stewart to this day. And I kind of... But then I think about it, right? Like, so with like woke culture, for example, which I hate. I hate woke culture. I'm sure you probably do too. But like, I think about this sometimes. Did I fall victim to that version of woke culture when I was in my early 20s? Because the left does go after young people now, you know, and you've got the right, and let's be honest and fair, the right goes after old people. And so when I think about that, and I think to myself, did I fall, if I was 21 now, would I be woke? And I bet you I would be. I would almost bet you I would be.
I'll bet you wouldn't, because you got a pretty low tolerance for BS, and it wouldn't take you long to see that some of these woke, I don't know, mantras don't really hold up to reality. You're like, oh yeah, the pregnant man avatar. Some of these mantras though about the wokeness just don't survive the reality check.
What it doesn't survive its own argument, kind of like with Elon being praised. Like, you got this ideology on the left, right? And like the environmentalist thing and all that stuff. So technically, if you want to follow that ideology, you should be fucking in love with Elon Musk. But then when Elon Musk buys Twitter and says, I'm going to be free speech, these fucking, and really, you know what it boils down to? Is that those people that are bitching at Elon Musk, they're scared that their little fucking commodity is going to go away. Because they're worried about their, like, you know, Like if I wanted to start a fake Twitter account tomorrow and just get on there and say like trans lives matter or whatever the fuck I want to say, any kind of lives matter except for blue. Like if I just went with that route, right? Like I could gain followers. It's a fucking business. Now, that being said, you got to look at the fucking right and go, Jesus Christ, which is the first thing they say if you're on the right. But like, it's all bullshit. Like all of it is bullshit, Clay. Like every ounce of it is commodity and demographic. And are you going to put me in a position of power? Name a politician that you fucking like.
Well, he wasn't really a politician, so he doesn't count. But the Trumpster, I didn't like him when he was just the crazy personality on TV. And all I wanted from him in the election of 2016, he wasn't my guy. I was a Ben Carson guy. But once the Trumpster was going to be...
R.I.P. Ben Carson.
He's alive.
Oh, I'm thinking of the black
He's
dude.
alive.
I'm thinking of the black dude that owned Godfather's Pizza.
Herman Cain. Yeah.
That's the most racist thing I've ever said on the podcast. I confused Herman Cain and Ben Carson.
It's okay.
Yeah, my bad.
Anyway, so all I wanted from Trump was keep Hillary out of the White House, please. And he did. I'm like, let's build him a statue. But then the dude started working. And I'm like, I don't want to hang out with this guy. I don't like him like a person. But he's doing work that I wish somebody had tried to do. And so I'm like, okay, he's gaining my respect.
What work did you think Trump did well?
All right. He got government somewhat out of the way of business in terms of puppet mastering them to where they can't thrive. And once they were able to thrive a little bit more, they're like, you know what we can do now is hire some more people. And that allowed a better employment situation.
We both agree on one thing, though? I hope we can agree on this, and I mean this. And if we don't agree on it, tell me to fuck off. But like, trickle-down economics doesn't work.
All right, well, let's talk about the two economic models that compete.
Okay, but there's the thing. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm getting at. Where your mind went, right there, dude. We immediately went to opposite ends of the room. And I don't want to do that.
No, we don't have to be opposite on this.
Okay,
I'm just going to say
my bad for cutting you off. My bad for cutting you off, but go ahead.
In general, there's two main competing economic models, and they're supply side and demand side, or capitalism, socialism, vaguely. Well, they're models, and so mathematically, they rely on assumptions. Okay? Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I could ask 8 billion people on the planet the same question.
I'm getting nervous because you fucking fucked with jets and shit and lasers, and I'm like, he's going to hit me with one, and I'm not going to know how to answer
I thought this through, but I'm going to let you direct the conversation on this one.
Let's do it, man.
You have, like I have, and like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk have, limited resources. They're not infinite. Do you, Chris Black, first tend naturally to spend your resources on the needs for your survival and those of people you care about and know, or do you first naturally tend to give your resources away and hope for the best?
Okay, well, I can make this argument. Like, I can do this. No, of course I take care of myself. But at the end of the day,
it's not selfishness. It's okay. Everybody does that.
Yeah, I'm not feeling
the only
guilty
point of
about
that question is, right, the only point of that question, Chris, is that the assumption behind capitalism, supply side economics, is that people tend to act that way. And that's why capitalism has a chance to work.
Here's the problem. People are pieces of shit. So when you give capitalism, I mean, I think that's honestly, to be straight up with you, that's what I think's so funny about the like I almost want to like put an album out called Capitalism by Christians. Like, it's an oxymoron in itself. The Bible tells you to care for whom? Other people. Capitalism tells you to care for who? Yourself. And now I understand. Hold on.
Capitalism doesn't tell you to do that.
Hold on. Let me finish the thought, because I just don't want you to, think that I'm saying something I'm not. I understand that if you make a lot of money and you hire people, you're giving those people an opportunity. But the problem in this country, this is something I think is a huge problem. It's like corporate America, for example, or Wall Street, right? Like I used to work at a Harbor Freight. I made at the end of my tenure there, I made $8.25 an hour. People walking in the door were making $7.75. I knew how to do everything in that fucking place. And these dumb motherfuckers that would come in on their opioids didn't know how to do shit. And they sucked. They weren't good people. I'm making 50 cents more. And at the end of the day, man, Harbor Freight was making a lot of money off the Chinese-made tools that they named Pittsburgh and all these other fucking American cities. Then they would sell Chinese flags to fucking idiotic Americans. I literally had a guy say to me, I would tell people about the Chinese flags. I would say, look, dude, this flag was made in China. You might want to go to Walmart, which is also a fucking monster of a company, but you can at least get an American-made flag there. And I had a redneck look at me one day and go, buddy, it's an American flag. I don't give a fuck where it was made. And I'm like, all right, well, man, I bet you're voting for Trump. But like, and this was way before Trump, but this is actually when Obama was in office. But what I'm getting at is corporations don't trickle down. They trickle up because of the stock market, because they're beholden to the stockholder. So trickle down economics does not work because the corporations, if they're fucking public, the number one goal they have is to make money for the fucking shareholders, and that's all they give a fuck about. And that keeps wages low. So trickle-down economics doesn't work.
None of those facts change the contention that capitalism can work and socialism can never work on its own.
I'm not going to argue that point. Socialism's been tried. It doesn't work.
And those are the two choices we sort of have. But here's the other thing about capitalism doesn't make people be that way. Capitalism assumes that they naturally tend to act that way. It's not making people do anything.
I don't think.
It's just a model.
Okay, I got you. Okay. I'm with you. Sorry.
Now, because socialism, here's the worst part of it, though, Chris, because you and I both love liberty. I know that. So here's the part where the economic model opposed to capitalism breaks down in ways that you and I both say we don't want that, which is because its assumptions are not consistent with the way human beings react, then ultimately, if a government tries to put that into place, they end up having to do it by force. Because you and I don't say, yeah, I'm going to play along with that.
And
eventually they got to make us play along.
And no government gives up power.
Exactly. So we're of one accord on that. We actually agree. Ta-da.
No, we did it. All right, man. Podcast over. No, I'm fucking with you. Happy ending. Yeah, man, I don't know. I just think, but what I think the problem is that if I think about this, like pull back and look at things from a macro point of view, I think that's the problem, is that socialism and capitalism are these two talking points that are used by the politicians that get everybody to like, and look, dude, you're obviously way smarter than I am. I'm going to go ahead and just say that on record. You've got a ton of, like, I'm sitting here drinking beer in a pair of fucking shorts I bought at a Walmart, and you're over there talking about lasers and F-15s and going to Israel. So you're obviously a very intelligent man. But the thing is, I feel like when we get stuck, well fuck, dude. Like, who was it? Was it, you'll know this because you're a Republican and you guys love the founding fathers. But who was it that said the worst thing America could do was have two-party system?
I don't remember that.
Oh my God, dude! I think you're a Democrat now.
I mean, somebody said.
I think
it.
I want
to.
It was well, but I think that's true because, and I can't remember who it was, and I hate myself for that. But it is what it is. We're doing this live. Google it, assholes. But so it just like, I think that's the problem is that we've gotten to a point where you're over here on not you and I, but collectively the parties themselves are so far apart. And it's like, why can't there be a system that and honestly, I think that's what America is. America combines capitalism and socialism. Well, who the fuck do you think paid for the roads? We did. I mean, I have a T-shirt that says firefighters funded by socialism since some year. You know,
Except that they're not. That's not socialism. So here I'll explain what I mean by that. We on the right tend, and I'm not talking about extreme right. I'm talking about constitutional right, to like where the founders placed it.
Yeah.
Limited government, but government. We got to have a government.
It is a good book. It is a good read. The Constitution's a good read. It's pretty good.
Yeah. And so what they were doing was they're like, okay, we know because we've lived on the planet and we had a king over there that was oppressing us. So we know that too much power in the central government is not our thing. So they came up with these Articles of Confederation, and it was practically anarchy. It didn't work because you got to have some structure. So okay, we need to have some structure. Let's figure out what the structure is. And so they put in my favorite part of the Constitution. The 10th Amendment says, okay, this far government and no farther. Anything that we don't say you can do, you can't do. It's going to be to the states and the people. So they put a firewall there that says don't grow beyond this point because you're going to tend naturally to grow, and governments, as you say, never give up power. But we abandoned that. But meanwhile, we used to, Chris, have in this country, even with the two parties being, the Republicans, Democrats in our lifetime, there used to be some common goals, and the debates and the arguments were how do we best go towards those goals.
That's what I'm talking about with the commodification of opinions and all that shit. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but now the goal's not even compatible. So Obama, before we elected him the first time, said,
don't you talk shit about the best president I've ever seen in my life, because I love that man. And
you remember when he said this? He said, I want to fundamentally transform this nation. I almost fell out of my chair. I'm like, well, you're seeking the wrong job, dude. So the goals that he had in mind were incompatible with the other side. It was no longer how do we work together to do this common goal. It's which goal do we pursue? And that's where people are like, well, we can't compromise on are we going to tyranny or liberty.
Okay, but then again, we go back to the same thing I've been saying, which is, and I can say this, and maybe we can agree on this. Don't you think that George W. Bush created Obama? Obama
yes.
created Trump. Trump
yes.
created Biden. So
no, not the last one, but the other two, yes.
Oh, give me okay, yeah, you think it got stolen. All right there, but go to the dark web, look at your QAnon websites. But like at the end of the day, I think that's what's hilarious, because when I walked in to vote for Obama, I was 100% sure I fucking cried when Obama won the presidency. I literally sat there in me and my girlfriend's house at the time, and I cried. I wept, and they were tears of joy. Like, I was so happy to see that. Now, when I voted for Hillary against Trump, I was voting for Hillary because I hate Trump. When I voted for Biden, I voted for Biden because I'm not Trump. But the thing is, guess what? You voted for fucking Trump because not Hillary. These old dudes that I used to work with, I had this conversation with them. They voted for Trump because not Hillary. So it's like now we've gotten to a point where everyone's voting for the lesser of two evils, and that's the fucking problem.
It would be a problem, but remember what I told you. The first time I said all you need to do is keep Hillary out. The second time, he had earned my respect, and I voted for him, and I would have voted for him against the best Democratic president you could name.
How did he earn your... Okay, well, I was going to ask you a question, but let me preface it with this. The reason I think that Obama was the best president is because the president affects people to a way that they really do affect culture, you know? Mm. And I feel like and I think that's really all they do, or well, all they should do, but now we've got the executive orders flying out like fucking dollar bills at a strip club. But like, it's that thing where that's really all they are. They're just a head of state. Like, it's supposed to be Congress that does everything. And if you pull the fucking executive orders out of the game, that's all they are. They're just a cultural leader. They're kind of a representation to the rest of the world. This is who we are. And I feel like in my lifetime, I mean, I haven't seen a better representation of what American culture is, just as far as a talking head, because that's essentially all they're supposed to be. Nobody's better than Obama. He was classy. He was intelligent. He was smooth. And then we get this fucking batshit crazy fucking contrarian in there.
I don't think Obama was any of those things, but I will give you my favorite president, Ronald Reagan.
Of course your favorite president is Ronald Reagan.
Well, here's what he did, Chris. He said, and this was like, I'm not going to be up here making executive orders and all this stuff. I'm going to have a vision that I'm going to share with the populace, and if they want it, they'll choose me. And if they want it and they choose me, I'm going to pursue it. And he said, here's my vision. I want to defeat Soviet communism without fighting them in a war.
Which is
I
good.
want to and that was good. And he did it in 8 years because he was focused on it. He's like, hey, team.
He also didn't
this is a good goal.
He also didn't like one color of Skittles. And he would make Nancy pick them out, or M&Ms or some shit. I don't remember.
Yeah, he loved jelly beans, but he didn't like one color jelly bean.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was jelly beans. But the other thing he said, I want to reduce the overall tax burden on the citizens and more level the tax code, which he also did, and it created the greatest economic growth that lasted all the way through.
I know, but he's
20 years fast.
Okay, but he's trickled down economics. That's his fucking shit. So what I'm getting at is it did. It did, and it does. I'm not saying it doesn't work. But capitalism run wild. Here, okay, check this out.
That's true. You are 100% correct. You are correct.
Check this. Here's what's funny. So in socialism, you have, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, right? The proletariat has all the the bourgeoisie has all the money, right? At the top?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bourgeoisie has 1% of the money.
But they don't have to do anything to get it.
Let me finish the thought. The bourgeoisie has all the money, top 1%. The 99 down is the proletariat. Isn't this kind of the talking point that the right always uses to a degree?
No, I don't use that at all. But Elon Musk is not bourgeoisie. Elon Musk worked his butt off.
Okay, and I agree with you, but let me make my fucking point. So,
yes, sir.
And I'm also not being that eloquent, and I apologize. So it's on me. But here's the thing. So let's just use these numbers as bullshit I'm not a fucking scientist. So the top 1% is the bourgeoisie. The 99% is the proletariat. That's socialism. The proletariat is working. The bourgeoisie just sits on their ass. Capitalism run wild is corporations buying out people. Corporations is small companies getting bought up. And eventually, when you get all that money and you have the problem with lobbyists and you have all that shit that we have now, guess what happens? Look where we're at. The top 1% is the bourgeoisie, which is corporate America, which the Republicans love to not regulate corporate America. And then you've got the working class. There's no middle class now. The middle class is dead. That's a fucking Republican talking point. And at the end of the goddamn day, dude, what you end up with is socialism. That's what's fucking crazy. You end up if capitalism is based on economics, it's funny that when capitalism runs wild, you end up with the same economics as socialism. And that is a testament to what people are. People are pieces of shit. They want to, like you said, they are caring about them and their family. That's it.
But that's not evil.
It's not evil.
People are. People can be evil and do evil things. And you are correct. You're 100% correct that capitalism run amok does create a horrible situation. I didn't say capitalism will work. I said capitalism can work because its assumptions are true.
And you think it's the best option?
It's a heck of a lot better than a system that cannot work unless it's enforced at a point of a gun. I don't want that.
And I got to be honest, I agree with you. So I think capitalism is good, but I think if we talk about I say too much. If we talk about it's really what we should just call the podcast, find some fucking nuance.
There you go.
I mean,
so you know who your next guest needs to be is our mutual friend Sarah, who does a podcast of her own, and it's huge. I mean, we're pikers. She's national, dude. Sarah Stewart Holland.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think she'll have me on. I'll be honest with you. The people of Paducah.
No, we're not going to talk bad about anybody that's not here.
I'm not talking bad about her. I have no problem with her. But what I'm saying is, the people of Paducah, the cultural people, we'll call them city people, they don't like me. So I don't think she'll do it, but you're more than happy to throw it out there. And if she says she'd love to do it, I'll fucking talk to her all day. I don't give a shit.
Here's the story for you. The only way that she and I met was the exact same way that you and I met. She and I argued on Facebook and never agreed. And her friends would come alongside of my Facebook comments and say, Sarah, why are you listening to this crazy Clay?
Yeah.
He doesn't agree with you. And she said, you know what? Because we disagree, but we don't get personal. And we talk about topics.
That's very nice. That's very nice.
And she said, hey, Clay, I want to understand why you think so wrong. So talk to me.
Had to hit you with the fucking jab while saying.
I put those words in her mouth. But basically, you know, we disagree on everything. I want to know why. Let's talk it out.
Well, man, I will say this. Like, I think that's awesome that she did that because she actually, I think, is a politician. But here's the thing. I remember Brandy Holmes, or not Brandy Holmes, that's from my hometown. Brandy Harless.
Mayor, yes.
Yeah, the mayor. She told me in 2015, that I should run for local office, and I laughed in her fucking face. I was just like, because we were talking politics and shit, and I have maybe I do, maybe I don't have a good handle on politics, but I've paid attention to it for a long time. I got away from it for a long time, and now I feel like I'm in a place where it doesn't affect me, and that actually is, I think, the best place to be, where politics don't affect my day-to-day. I don't give a shit. Like, I think they're fucking funny. Mm-hmm. I think they're hilarious. I think it's an obvious, like, once I figured out like the algorithm of politics, I was like, oh, this is a fucking joke. Like, that's all this is. So then I quit taking it seriously, quit, identifying with it and making it part of my identity.
Except it's a joke that affects us over much.
It is, but it's not. I'll be honest with you, man. My day-to-day life wouldn't have changed that much if Donald Trump would have won again. And Joe Biden wasn't president. Like, it really wouldn't have. It not in a way that I would notice, you know? Like,
except that these policies that they're making actually made changes. Like, everything changed really fast when Joe Biden started signing these laws and executive orders
I'm not
that
arguing.
hurt the employment scenario.
They're about ready to take away menthol cigarettes, and the Democratic Party has never done anything dumber. Like, that's the stupidest fucking thing. That's how fucking insane they are, that they were like, well, we got to this point, and I know it's the FDA, but it's like, I think the Democrats are probably the ones doing it, and it's like, what are you guys doing? Because I'll be honest with you, politically, that's not the best fucking move, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that.
I've got a Mayor Harless story because she's our kind of people, too. I respect her a lot.
I actually told her husband to fuck off like 2 weeks ago, and then I had to call him last weekend and be like, man, I'm really sorry. Like, and he was a sweetheart. He's a fucking sweetheart, and they are good people. I just don't like.
So Brandy and I disagree on most things because, you know, I'm wrong and she's like you, she's right. Well,
God damn, dude, throwing jabs like Sarah Stewart Holland.
She wanted to know why I believed a certain way on a certain specific topic. So she calls me up. She's like, meet me at et cetera, and let's talk about this thing. And for an hour and a half, we both talked. We both listened. Neither one of us changed our mind. But she's like, I wanted to know why somebody who I don't think is actually insane disagrees so vehemently about this one thing.
Well, she's doing intel. That's what that is.
Yeah, exactly. But that was wise. I mean, she had to spend an hour and a half with Joe Schmo. I can't even vote for mayor. I live in the county.
I used to fucking go to Piper's all the time, and there was a barista there that couldn't believe that I listened to Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, all that, and I was like, yeah, of course I listen to him because I want to know what these motherfuckers are up to. And like anytime I get in an argument with any Republican, I already know what they're going to say. So I can already.
Do I ever surprise you?
Oh, dude, you've surprised me. I'll be honest with you. This is probably one of the better podcasts I've done. I love it. You're a very, very intelligent dude, and you've got good points. I mean, you're wrong about everything, but no, man. I mean, honestly, I'll be straight up with you. I'll end it right here because I feel like we touched on so much stuff. It's like a jam-packed, I don't even know what the time is. Oh, I got to put my password in. I'm about to buy
It's coming on 6:30.
Okay, well, dude, yeah, let's wrap it up. What do you want to call it? Do you want to call it Pangram, or do you want to call it?
Yeah, let's do. I mean, what could be more fun than that? People are like, what the heck is a Pangram?
What did I say we should? What did I say we should call it earlier? I said something.
I don't remember.
I don't either. I'll have to listen to this fucking conversation like 9 more times while I edit it. But I'm not gonna. By the way, I don't edit it.
It's okay.
I just make it sound better because you know how it is.
It's okay. I produce a podcast, and I do edit it sometimes because the radio version has to be exactly 24 minutes and 0 seconds.
That's why I'm putting this shit on YouTube, because I can say the N-word as many times as I want.
Which we won't do, audience.
Joking.
We didn't do that.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I do have a non-political question I really wanted to ask you, because you're a creative person.
Well, hurry it up, motherfucker, because I got to pee. I love
creative people. So you put your work out there for others to enjoy. And by the way, you gave me one of your CDs there, the Almond Street Apartment B.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. This is a question I like to ask creative people. You've got something to say when you put out your creative stuff, right? So when you do that, is it more important to you that you really said what you wanted to say the way you wanted to say it? Or is it really more important to you that we, the audience, really get it?
You
know what I mean?
Yeah,
I love
definitely
that.
the
I love that answer.
Not the latter. Because the reason for that, from my point of view, is that, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with politics. I don't want to be a used car salesman. So, like, if I'm going to put something out, particularly with music, like, that shit's going to be whatever I fucking want it to be. And if people like it, cool. And if they don't, cool. But, like, I'm going to put out whatever I want to put out because that's me. And I don't want to put out something that isn't me. I don't want people to like a version of me that's a lie, you know? So I feel like if that's what I was going through emotionally when I made this album, that's, you know, I don't really believe in God, but that's kind of my God, you know? That's my moral compass. It's like, that's what it was. That's what it is. I wrote this shit. I got to do it, you know?
Well, from a creative perspective, I appreciate that and salute you, because that's like the David Lynch model. He's one of my favorite movie directors.
I'm not that big of a fan of David Lynch, but I get it.
But people don't understand some of his movies, and he's like, you know what? It's whatever it meant to you. That's fine. It means something to me, but once you watch it, you own it.
Do you know what the difference between me and David Lynch is? About $700 million. I'm fucking broke, bud. But I mean, I don't know, man.
He makes them himself. He gave up all the, that George Lucas asked him to direct a Star Wars movie. He's like, this ain't my thing, George. I don't understand it.
That's a bad motherfucker right there. I love that shit. Like, I love that shit. Like, as a matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do here at the end? I'm going to do a hot plug. I've got an album, or not an album. It's
Carl Winslow.
Yeah, Carl Winslow's coming out.
I was going to plug it for you, dude. You cut me off.
I'm sorry, but yeah, so it's 3 songs inside of one song. And I tried to do it like, basically my thought process with that was it'll be like a digital record.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of, it's 3 songs in one. So you don't have to listen to the whole thing. It's only 9.5 minutes long, but like, you don't have to listen to it. But if, let's say Nancy Pelosi listens to it, right? Nancy Pelosi would probably, if I had to guess, she would like the last song. She would not like the first song. She'd be okay with the second song, but she'd be cool with the third song. Nancy Pelosi would have to get off of whatever app she uses to invest with all of her inside trader knowledge, and she would have to then scroll through the songs she doesn't like to get to the one that she does. And that's kind of what my thought process was with it was I was like, oh, not Nancy. I didn't think about Nancy Pelosi. I was just doing an allegory or a fucking analogy or whatever the fuck it is. And but basically, man, like, I think that's kind of interesting. And look, no one's going to listen to that shit. I know that. I don't give a fuck. Well, thank you.
I'm going to listen to it. Sounds good with Tracy Ross. May 13, people. Listen to it on 91.3.
I think I might have been wrong on that because I did the interview with him today. It's like pre-recorded shit while I was at work, and there was like a semi trying to like load other fucking trucks into the bay that I'm a warehouse worker. And it was really, like, there's this dude I work with who's hilarious that knew that I was doing the interview on the phone, and I kept having to run away from like the loading dock because this fucking diesel truck from like 1985 was just like, bah! And I almost started laughing while I was doing it. But I think Tracy said it might be on Thursday. I'm not sure. I'll put it on the fucking internet.
Well, update your post on that one because I'm gonna be looking for it.
Man,
meanwhile, do you know who did something similar to what you're doing? And this makes it credible. Prince. He made his album Love Sexy. Where, listen, I don't know if you like Prince or you hate Prince, but
I love Prince, but I don't.
He was a genius.
Yeah.
But when he,
you know what we're gonna do right now? You know what we're gonna do? God damn it! I'm hitting pause. I'm hitting pause, and I gotta piss. I'm hitting pause.
Sorry.
Hold on. I'm coming back. Now we'll do like another hour. I don't give a fuck. I just gotta pee so bad it hurts. All right. Is my computer gonna? Are you gonna work, you piece of shit? I'm buying a new computer.
I'll just. I just want to say, Chris, that you took this episode of the Nitty and the Gritty, for some listeners, from vaguely interesting to legendary. So I thank you for that.
Thanks, man. I had to piss so bad. The only reason that I said I would take the pee was because you brought up Prince. And today at work, there's a video of Prince, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, Steve Winwood playing George Harrison, well, the Beatles or whatever, but George Harrison's While My Guitar Gently Weeps, I think whenever he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's some Hall of Fame group right there, yeah.
Have you ever seen that video?
I have seen Prince playing Guitar Gently Weeps. It must have been the whole crew.
Well, dude, at the end of the video, Prince, I told the guy that I was talking about earlier that kept making me laugh whenever I was on the interview with Tracy about... because the semis kept pulling up, and it was like, this is hilarious. But anyway, I told him about it today at work because Prince, at the end of it, Prince rips ass on guitar through the end of it. And he takes his guitar and he throws it into the air.
Wow.
Off camera, straight up into the air. Walks off stage, the guitar never comes down. So... I mean, obviously, he probably had someone ready to catch it, and it was a fucking bit. But, like, yeah, that's why I decided to do this.
Mic drop. Well, so his album, Love Sexy, he put it out on CD with no track markers. So he's like, listen to the whole thing or don't.
Hell yeah.
I don't care, but that's the way it is.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And by the way, tying it back to David Lynch, he puts his movies on DVD and Blu-ray, no chapter stops. He's like, this ain't a book. Watch my movie or don't, but I'm not putting chapter stops.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about, like, I remember that album I gave you, the 230 West Almond Street Apartment B thing. That one, I remember one of my best friends yelling at me. Because, I mean, that cost me a lot of money to do. And my friend was like, why the fuck did you put an 11-minute instrumental at the beginning? And I was like, because I spent $6,000 on it. It's my album. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And, like, I thought it was funny to see the... And really, to me, I wanted the listener to, like, kind of slowly put a toe in the water. And then by the time that 11-minute instrumental was over with, like, if you stuck with it through that point, you were engulfed in how I felt and how the rest of the album was going to go.
And then you go right into Best Friend Blues, dedicated to yours truly.
Yeah, that's definitely, it was always, that song was always about how we could never agree politically. But it was that thing where it was like, if they don't get through, it was a litmus test. So it's like, if you don't get through this, then you're not going to like the rest of the album. So fuck you. So it gave me the comfort or confidence maybe, or not even, I don't even know what the word would be, but like it gave me the opportunity to be free with what happened from that point on, you know, because
dude, this is why you should like the band Rush better than you do.
I just like Working Man is the only song of theirs that I really love.
They're your kind of, well, one of them's gone now and they won't record again, but they were your kind of people.
Okay,
I'm telling you.
Let's do this. I'm assuming you're talking about Canadians. Do you like Trailer Park Boys?
I don't know the Trailer Park Boys.
Okay, man. Well, look.
But let me tell you why Rush is your kind of peeps, because this is true.
Okay.
They invented new ways to make these sounds for three guys, and the record company's like, we can't sell this. You guys need to do something else. And then they spent a whole year figuring out how it would be possible to play the music that they had written that they wanted to play. And some of it was like, you know, a 9.5 minute instrumental song, which I think is one of their top 3 greatest songs of all time.
What song is that?
And it's just, that's La Via Strangiato.
I've never heard it. I'll look it up.
Well, I'm telling you, here's I introduced it to the maestro of the Paducah Symphony Orchestra. I was driving him to Nashville to the airport, and I said, hey, maestro, you ever heard of Rush? He's like, but maybe. I'm like, you're going to like these guys. And I play him, and it's this really kick-butt rock song. It's 9.5 minutes. It's instrumental, and it's got 12 parts to it, although they're not indicated. They just roll right through. And, you know, his reaction was, these guys are geniuses, because he was able to pick out stuff that I don't even know, because he's a musical genius.
Will you do me a favor? The next time you're taking a maestro from the Paducah Symphony to the airport, will you play them? I can't remember what Russian Christmas.
10.9.
Russian Christmas.
The Russian Christmas.
Yeah, 10.9. 10.9. I think it's 18. That jam that was at the beginning of that album, that was improvised. That was all. We had never played that. That was one take, and the guys I was playing with were fucking brilliant. And but off that album, I think it's track 3, or I don't remember, but it's called Russian Christmas, and that's probably to me, that's the best. That's the only thing I've ever done that might impress a maestro.
Well, he wanted to listen to Rush for the rest of the trip, and we still talk about Rush every time he's in town. Meanwhile, the song from Rush that you need to listen to, they did in one take.
Working Man?
Yeah, you love Working Man already.
That's
but one that you
shit.
haven't heard that you'll appreciate, because they did it in one take, is Xanadu. It's 11 minutes long. It's from A Farewell to Kings. It's called Xanadu. One take. They will blow your mind.
All right, man. I'll check it out. I will tell you this. When I was younger, I worked at a locally owned Tex-Mex, kind of like Taco Bell, Taco John's place in my hometown called Chico's, which is still pretty goddamn good, I'll be honest. And for Christmas, the owner of the company bought me Rush. Is it 2012?
2112.
2112. And I hated it. He was all about Rush. But no, keep in mind, this is like 17-year-old me. So I was Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, you know, very like non-progressive blues rock based shit. And he gave it to me, and I was like, this is fucking trash. And I hated it. And I also kind of didn't like him because he was a cocaine addict. I probably should have said that. I'll bleep. Shit. Well, I'll figure. He would, all right, you know what? Fuck it. He was a cocaine addict. And at the end of the day, the dude was paying me like $5.15 an hour. And here's capitalism gone wrong. This is how we're going to round it. This is how we're going to fucking round it down. That motherfucker would make me walk from let's call it a Taco John's, over to his house, which was 2 blocks away, and mow his fucking grass. I was mowing grass at the time on the side, and I would have charged him probably like $20 to mow his grass. Guess how much money I got paid for that? $5.15. And that's fucked up. Because when I got hired to cut your fucking tomatoes, Randy, I didn't get hired to mow your fucking grass. And that's capitalism in a fucking nutshell. And that's why I like Working Man more than any other Rush song. And that's it. We just did it.
There you go.
We
tied a bow on the Rush.
We tied a bow
discography
on it. But no, I'll check out the Rush songs you told me to check out. Man, thank you for doing this. This is
my honor.
Like, you're definitely the smartest person I've had on here, and it was really interesting to just hear everything you do. And I do this with everybody. I'll call you back whenever I get done hitting stop, because I like to talk to you for a little bit as a human being, not as a fucking commodity. So I'll call you right back after I hit stop, and thank you.
Thank you, brother. See ya.
All right, later.